schedule. Last year you had to wait, if I remember correctly, to the very last bracket to find out where you were going. You found out really on the first one this year. You're going to be going to Greensboro, Coach Brey. I mean, you know who this guy is. He's come up from a team meeting they just had to take on Xavier. Your thoughts?
Well, the first thing I told our team was congratulations on earning a 7 seed. And to earn a 7 seed in this tournament, given where we were in November and December, I think it's one of the great stories in Notre Dame sports history. If there's a better one, I'd like Lou Samoji to tell me which one it is. So I wanted them to be very, very proud of that. And then we talked about Xavier, and I mentioned to him yesterday, given where we would be seated, it's going to be a Big East game, whoever we're playing and wherever we're going to be. And, Xavier certainly, all I know is Xavier was a sexy Final Four pick back in the preseason. I watched them beat the SEC tournament champions Vanderbilt one night, and they kind of thumped them. They beat Cincinnati. We didn't. They beat Georgia. We didn't. So we got a Big East game on our hands in Greensboro. Great basketball country down there. I'm very familiar. We're kind of back down there in ACC country. Maybe that's an omen of things to come, but, we can touch on that later. But, again, we're thrilled. I'm just thrilled that this group gets to go into the NCAA tournament. And I like the fact that we don't play till Friday. We need a couple days of practice to work on us here. And, we got some rest over the weekend after the late night show in New York. Get some rest, get back into some practice before we head down there Wednesday.
Coach, obviously this Xavier team I think you're pretty familiar with in terms of some individual personnel, terrific guards in both Lyons and Holloway, and a big guy that we recruited years ago in Kenny Freese.
We did. We spent a lot of time on Kenny Freese. Heck of a player, but their guards make them go. There's no question about it. This was listed as one of the better backcourts in the country, and I wouldn't argue with that. And I think – funny, I ended up watching the A-10 championship today, so, I got a chance to digest them a little bit more. I know they had some struggles early in the year after the brawl with Cincinnati, but, I sense that, it's a clean slate now and they can get back to playing. And so controlling their guards will be a key. They always have some athletic frontline guys, but a heck of a matchup for our young guards against some older guards.
This certainly has no impact on this matchup, but for you and both of you, in fact, Xavier, part of a milestone game for this program. Your first year, you got Notre Dame back into the NCAA tournament after 11 years, and your opponent in Kansas City in the first round, which they called the first round then, was Xavier.
I mentioned that to our team because, Coach Inglesby and Coach Swanigan were down there. I said, I'm having a flashback to 12 years ago when we drew Xavier, and I said the one thing to be prepared for, just like 12 years ago, we will be an upset pick. Okay, everybody starting, I'd say in about an hour, if not, sorry, Xavier should get Notre Dame. I said we heard that all week, and all I know is we got out of the gate and got off to a great start and won an NCAA tournament game in Kansas City when we hadn't been in a tournament in 10 years. So that's a memory there, but, certainly they've had a lot of different coaches, but the program remains very, very strong, good defensive team, and as Sean said, it gets back to their guards control everything.
Coach, you talked about getting back to practice this week. What would be some of the key issues for you as you do get back there?
I think we need to play a little bit Monday and Tuesday, Sean, and just trying to get into an offensive rhythm. I don't feel we've been in a very good offensive rhythm really the last 2 weeks. Can we get back into a gear? We're going to have to shoot the ball better if we're going to advance. I hate to make it sound so simple, but it kind of does come down to that. We have to make some outside shots for us to be successful, and I'd like to see some guys get confident shooting with those Wilson basketballs before we get to play with those Wilson basketballs on Friday in Greensboro.
Folks, in case you don't know, Notre Dame uses the Wilson basketball in practice and games, and the reason is that's the one you use in the NCAA tournament. Coach wants his team used to shooting that ball all throughout the year. Now, you know what the fans are doing, so I'd give you permission to do anything. Feel free to bat this question away, but and you've made it very clear, we got to focus on that first game.
Right.
But there's an opponent looming in game number 2 that you're kind of familiar with, and also another milestone game. You came so close to making a great run your second year here when you took on Duke.
Well, I would love to have a shot to kind of go back to that one, because we were in position to win the game in Greenville and missed some free throws, and they made big plays, and that would be exciting, certainly, to play their program. Of course, we'd be right in the heart of ACC country down there, but for our guys, and I tried to tell them, I told them this yesterday, and I didn't know who would be on the other side of the bracket. Certainly with Duke being over there, it makes it a little more dramatic and interesting to talk about. Was where we kind of talked about getting to Saturday night, we kind of were looking at the big picture when we went to New York. We cannot look past a first-round opponent. Like, we're not good enough to do that. And so, I will ratchet us back into Xavier mode, up until after the game on Friday. And if we're fortunate enough to win it, then we can talk about the Blue Devils.
Coach, when you see the Duke Blue Devils show up there playing against Lehigh, the Patriot League winner this year, do you think to your former or fellow DeMatha grad committee chair, Jeff Hathaway, and do you think that stuff comes into play when they think about those matchups sometimes?
Remember, it's funny, we talked about that when we were going to Greenville, and they were on the other side of the bracket. And, of course, we've been in a bunch of tournaments, and we've managed to stay pretty far away from them. I'm sure there's some intrigue on that. But, I sat through a mock selection with the NABC Board of Directors a year ago, and there is so much stuff going on. I really don't think they want to get into that. And, all I hope is, the Duke fans are cheering for us in the first-round game, and we need their crowd to help us.
We've talked a lot. It has been a terrific, magical year for your team, and nothing that losing on Friday night to Louisville doesn't change that. Nothing that happens this week will change that. But that said, there's no one on this team that is satisfied right now.
No, very hungry. And we talked about trying to get back into a February mode a little bit and recapture some of that. And, this group would like to play for a while. They're going to be very focused to do it. I think there's a little edge about them after the way Friday night went in New York. That can help us with our concentration this week as we prepare.
I know it's a very busy time for you. Everybody watching on UND.com appreciates all the time you give us, all the access. I know you got other stuff to do, so thank you.
Yes.
And I guess I see you in about an hour and a half because we're going to do the TV show tonight too. All right.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Coach,
thanks,
congratulations.
Guys. Thanks.
And, of course, the TV show will be posted on UND.com sometime tomorrow after we tape it tonight.